Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's edition of the Draft Countdown Podcast. I'm your co-host, Brian Bosarge, along as always with my co-host, Shane P. Hallam. Shane, we are 126 days, 22 hours, 59 minutes, and 41 seconds away from the 2022 NFL Draft.
Knee deep into bowl season. We are here and got to get our first week of bowls in and post our thoughts up on the site. So it's been a good week. Going to be a good holiday season watching a lot of these games.
Got one going on right now. We'll talk about probably in a little bit. But I want to ask anybody if you're watching live in chat, get your question in. We'll answer it in the episode. If you're following along on Twitter, send a question to @DraftCountdown. We'll answer it later in the episode. Shane, you mentioned we are knee deep in bowl season. We're basically 1 week of games in. Game started last Friday. A couple of games yesterday. We both watched an equal number of games. We both watched like 6 apiece. So of the games you watched, Shane, who's the best player you saw in week 1 of the bowl games?
I got to go back to one of my old favorites, and that's Tyler Allgeier, the running back for BYU, who just ran wild in a loss against UAB for 192 yards and 3 touchdowns on 27 carries. I mean, he was phenomenal. Like, it was one of the best running back performances I've seen in a while. Caught a couple passes, which is good for him. I think that's one of those areas this year where he's really excelled that people didn't expect. So he's been very mum about his draft status, but he was literally like dragging guys with him through this game on the ground, picking up 5-6 extra yards after contact. It was almost the Javonte Williams like performance. Javonte Williams against Miami last year that kind of put him in the national spotlight. Obviously, this isn't as big of a game, but I think I think Allgeier will get some recognition from this. So he's up there. He hasn't said if he's going to declare or not. He wants to keep people guessing, which seems odd. Makes me feel like he's going to go back, but we'll see if he declares or not.
I mean, it's a very interesting decision for him because, I mean, if he comes out, does he go in the first 3 rounds? I think we both believe he is that talented, but, it becomes do you get lost in the numbers game, so to speak, and get kind of pushed down into that early day 3 area. So, I mean, that's a decision he can, he's got to weigh. Is it worth going back to school over? I mean, it's completely up to him. Shane, for me, the best player I saw this week is a guy I have been very outwardly critical of over the last couple of weeks, months, and that's Liberty quarterback Malik Willis. I saw him in person Saturday night at the Lending Tree Bowl. It'll be the first of 2 times I see him in the next 6 weeks in person. So he'll also be down here in Mobile for the Senior Bowl. But Willis against Eastern Michigan was nothing short of dominant. Wasn't the best conditions in this game. It was the field was wet. It was rainy for a good portion of the game. Game started late because of a lightning delay twice. So, but almost 290 yards of total offense, 5 total touchdowns, no turnovers, and only was sacked 1 time, which has been big issue for Malik Willis in the other 2 games I watched, where he was sacked against Syracuse and Ole Miss. They combined 15 times, but Eastern Michigan, and I don't even know if that was a true quote-unquote sack that he took, as much as maybe I think he was scrambling out and got tripped up, and it counts as a sack. But Malik Willis, dominant performance. Still not all the way in on him, but I'm not all the way out on him anymore, if that makes any sense.
It's just exciting that you were there live to kind of see that performance. Is pretty cool. I mean, it was probably the best game I've seen him play, definitely this year, probably all his whole career at this point. Which, I mean, Eastern Michigan's not the defense to write home about, but still, in a bowl performance, it's his last game. Like, that's pretty clutch. So.
Yeah, it was a great game for Liberty overall. They at one point scored 46 consecutive points in that game, which was per the bowl game information director, was the most ever in that bowl game consecutively scored. So they've got that going for them as well. Shane, we've had some big name underclassmen declare this week, and looks like we had 7 total, including some top players at their position. We'll start with the probably maybe offensive guard 1 in this class. Maybe depending on how your opinion of Ikem Ekwonu is, but Kenyon Green, Texas A&M guard, declares for the NFL draft.
I think he's a first-round pick. I know there's some controversy there. I think he's probably on the fringe at this point. I think you and I have both had him as kind of the top guard, or at least among those from the beginning, from when we relaunched the site through now. I think he's played well. I thought he played a little bit better last year, but there are some games. That Alabama game stands out to me where he was doing some major damage, getting pulled, blocking the way for running backs, him and the true freshman center there that they have. So I think he's a really good player. Maybe he's not this, huge upside Quentin Nelson kind of guy, but I think he's a plug and play starter for a decade. And if you can get that, I think that's worth a first round pick.
Absolutely. I believe so. I mean, it's like you see a lot of these guys, like how did they, these guys are plug and play starters that get drafted in the second round. Probably should have been first round picks. I think Kenyon Green's going to end up getting drafted in the first round, maybe in the back end portion of it, in the 20 to 30 range. His teammate, tight end 1, ? Jalen Weidermeyer. I know we're both big fans of him, and he's probably going to be the first tight end off the board.
I think it's definitely between him and Trey McBride, the tight end from Colorado State, who's going to the Senior Bowl. I think it's just what flavor do you want? Weidermeyer's more that two-way player, a good blocker, really good red zone threat. Maybe doesn't do as much between the 20s. McBride was the primary kind of pass catcher for Colorado State. But I just really like Jalen Weidermeyer because he came in as a freshman. He wasn't the highest recruited tight end they had. Baylor Cupp was, and Cupp got hurt. Weidermeyer comes in as a true freshman, is a monster in the SEC. To me, that if you can be a true freshman and do what he did, you're going to be an NFL player. So I would take him. I don't think he'll go in the first round. I would be happy to take him at the back end of the first.
I think the biggest difference between him and Trey McBride for teams making this decision is going to be age. Weidermeyer, age 20 right now, probably going to be a 21-year-old rookie, where McBride, I believe, is like 24. Or will be 24 his rookie season. So that makes a difference to a lot of teams. I know the Cleveland Browns in particular rarely draft anybody over the age of 21. So these last few years under their new regime. 3 running backs entered the draft this week. 2 of them at the top of the running back groups. Kenneth Walker III from Michigan State, Breece Hall from Iowa State. Either of those 2 could be the first running back off the board. We already had Isaiah Spiller enter the draft, who is also in contention for that RB1 spot in this draft class. But Kenneth Walker III, Breece Hall enter this class.
I think it's going to be knockout, drag out for who that RB1 is going to be drafted. I don't think any of these guys are going to be drafted in the first round. But Kenneth Walker, I mean, the season he had at Michigan State, if he can go to workouts, have a really good workout, there's no doubt the NFL is going to like him. I think as a high second round pick. Breece Hall is my number 1. I know you've had him up there, often throughout this process.
He's back to number 1 for me.
So I think we both kind of oscillated between him and Spiller a little bit, but Hall is, I think a better prospect than David Montgomery to me, just slightly. You go into the same school, they're similar body types, but I think Breece Hall is a little better contact balance coming out. Maybe a little more explosiveness. But I think he's going to be that type of NFL player, right? Not flashy, he's not going to be, Jonathan Taylor or Austin Eckler or anything, but he's going to grind you yards and get you touchdowns. So that's one of my favorite storylines of this draft is who's going to be the first running back off the board, because I think it could be any of these 3 guys. And maybe there's even a couple others that could sneak in there.
Always seems like running back's that spot where you see some guys sneak in. And I kind of joked about it with my mock draft a few weeks ago with Rachaad White, the running back from Arizona State. Not that I think he's running back 1 in this class, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire was another that was, I believe, the top running back drafted a few years ago and was not thought to be there.
Unexpected, yeah.
The other running back that declared probably a day 3 pick, Sincere McCormick from UTSA, the 5'9", 200-pound junior, enters this class. Like I said, I don't think he's going to go in the first 3 rounds, but he should be drafted probably early on day 3 or early to mid day 3.
I disagree. I Sincere McCormick is one of the best running backs in college football over the past couple seasons. I don't think he gets drafted. I'm going to be honest. I think he's small, he's slow, and those
not generally a good combination.
When those two things happen at running back, no matter how good you were, I mean, look at like Jared Patterson, right? Who another excellent college running back who I had getting drafted early 3rd day, went undrafted. He's producing. I think Sincere McCormick will produce in the NFL. Like I think he'll make a team, but our team's going to really, try to swing for that upside with him. Hopefully he proves me wrong because he's a lot of fun to watch. But I think he's down. I think he's 37th in my running back rankings right now. But now some of those guys are going to definitely go back to school, a bunch of them. But we'll see what happens.
Well, was not expecting that.
Sorry. This is
well, speaking of while we got you on a roll here, Shane, let's talk about another player I don't think you're such a hot fan of, and that's the linebacker that declared this week, Brandon Smith from Penn State.
Look, I know now I like Brandon Smith a little bit more. I was just surprised that he declared for the draft. He was in my top 5 linebackers, I think, when we relaunched. I mean, he's like he has good size and he's athletic. He just hasn't really played up to those expectations. I feel like the other Penn State front 7 guys, Ellis Brooks, the other linebacker, Jesse Lakita, played better than him. So I think it's actually going to be interesting to see how these Penn State linebackers come off the board, because I think they're probably 3rd-day picks, but it wouldn't surprise me if Brandon Smith has a killer combine or something, and then we're like, maybe we should prop this guy up.
That tends to happen with these Penn State guys because do they still have the same strength coach that's been just that's getting these guys ridiculous pro day and combine numbers?
I think so.
All right. I don't think we're going to say a bad word about this other guy, the final underclassman to declare this week, and that's Mississippi State offensive tackle Charles Cross. I think we both believe at worst he's a top 15 pick at worst.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a good pass protector. You have to be in that Mike Leach system, and he has stepped in there. Once again, another player last year as a redshirt freshman who did really, really well and kind of blew me away with his athletic and movement ability at his size. I think there's going to be certain teams that don't have him quite as high, just if they have more of a power line scheme. But if you get him in a zone blocking scheme, I mean, I think he's going to be like really difficult to beat off the edge. So I'm excited to see him play at the next level.
Yes, Cross is a stud. I mean, with the need for offensive tackles at the NFL level, I would be shocked at this point if he's not in the top 10. I mean, I would be more surprised of him not going in the top 10 than, a lot of other scenarios that we have out there. Shane, kind of a slow week for the Senior Bowl, right? I mean, only 3 names added this week. What's going on over there, Jim?
Running out of space.
We're running out of spots. Yeah, that's what it appears to be. But we did get a big name, 2 big names this week. And we'll start with the quarterback, Carson Strong from Nevada. This was expected. He is a junior, but had graduated this month, so eligible for the Senior Bowl. And I think you said it before, what he'll be able to do with the Senior Bowl plays to his strengths, because he's not going to see live rounds in practice, and that's where everybody's going to be there watching. They're going to see him down there. It's going to be cold. It's going to be windy, and he's going to rip the ball through, and he's going to make throws that's going to wow people in practice, and that's going to help him. Where he's, like I said, he's not going to see the live bullets flying at him in practice. Now, the game, when everybody kind of checks out, maybe that's when you start seeing some of the some of the issues creep up, but practices he's gonna be a star.
Right. His arm and his accuracy are just really, really good. And that's why Nevada's offense has been so good for so long. But I'm definitely worried about his pocket presence. I'm definitely worried about the injury, which, Jim Nagy tweeted basically saying like all is good and he's gone through that process. But multiple knee surgeries, basically a hole in his bone that was fused together. The combine medical is going to be, that's his stock, that is it. So I'm interested to see. I think it actually could play out similar to another Nevada quarterback with a very different skill set. But Colin Kaepernick, when he was down there, wasn't really a big name. And then the practices at the Senior Bowl, I mean, he was like by far the best quarterback slinging it and looked really, really smooth and good. I think Carson Strong could end up in a similar fashion in that way.
And honestly, he could end up in that first round, like late first round area where a team wants to, assure itself of the 5th-year option. But Colin Kaepernick was a high second, was what, the 34th pick in the draft in 2011, because he was picked right before Andy Dalton. So yeah, it was the 35th pick. So that could be a similar landing spot for Carson Strong for a team that, like one of the, like say Detroit, who passes on the quarterback high. The edge, they take the edge rusher. They grab one of the wide receivers that fall with their second first-round pick, the one they have from the Rams. But there they are at the top of the second round. They had Carson Strong all week, and I bet you, we'll talk about that later. But if they're one of the coaching staffs down there, they get a look at Carson Strong all week. Just saying,
Yeah,
that's a spot. The other big name Senior Bowl ads this week was Florida State edge rusher Jermaine Johnson II. What a year he had after transferring from Georgia for the Seminoles. One of the few bright spots for Florida State this year, to be honest.
I got to say that this was all you. I think it was week 1 or maybe even week 0 when you watched Florida State and you came on here. It was one of the first shows we did together, and you're like, "Look, this guy's legit." And I'm like, whatever, he hasn't played or whatever. But no, the season he put together to be a backup at Georgia and come out and do what he's done. I don't know. Maybe I'm still a little bit higher on him than some, but I think he's a top 50 type pick for sure.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe he goes in that high second round range as well. Third and final Senior Bowl spot was originally with the Shrine Game. That's not going to be the case anymore, but is a guy that I had projected on the initial roster selection for the Senior Bowl. So we get to count it. Sam Houston State corner Zion McCollum. Length is the name of his game, Shane. 6'3" corner, 200 pounds long, probably 34-inch arms on this cat. That's going to be his calling card, but he's a good man. He's a good cover guy.
If he can run fast, if he has good workouts, I think he has day 2 potential for sure. A good season for him this year. He definitely was fairly locked down for them and a good Sam Houston State team. So I'm excited to see him down here against some of those receivers. I think it's going to be a good matchup for McCollum to see if he is legit.
Yeah, because the receivers that they've announced so far also lengthy guys. So this could be a fun. Those one-on-ones are always so fun, man. So it's one of your favorite things to watch during those practices. All right, Shane. Another week, 12 more bowl games this week, including the one right now, Shane, that you're watching for Draft Countdown. The Armed Forces Bowl currently on ESPN. Army and Missouri. Missouri's best prospect, Tyler Beatty. Nope. Nope. This one. Going on and entering the NFL draft. He's been there for 4 years, so we're not counting him as an underclassman. The NFL may, but we're not. Army typically doesn't have, or any of the service academies for that matter, generally have what you call upper echelon prospects. They have guys that you might get drafted or, end up playing in the league. They have one defensive lineman, Nolan Cockrell, who's committed to the Shrine Game, playing tonight, and but Missouri, couple. I assume they're playing. Maybe they're playing. They're not getting any action tonight. I can tell you that. Caleb Evans and Allie Green.
Yeah, no, Caleb Evans. He opted out. So
Caleb Evans opted out. Allie Green may be playing, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like I said, he's not like he's going to get challenged tonight anyway. Because Army never throws the football.
No.
So, anything else we should be watching in this one?
No, I have a feeling this one will not be appearing on my article. Not much.
Moving on. How about tomorrow afternoon, the Frisco Football Classic? Substituting for the former Redbox Bowl, which was canceled this year. This was the game they just created out of thin air just to get every bowl-eligible team a bowl game. Miami of Ohio and North Texas. Miami of Ohio has a couple of Senior Bowl prospects to watch for sure. Dominique Robinson, which I think you have went from who is this guy to, yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah.
And Sterling Weatherford, who the safety jury's still out.
Both just very athletic kind of defensive specimens, Dominic Robinson, Sterling Weatherford. So I'm excited to see them for sure. I think they could both raise their stock here. It's a good matchup for them. And even the receiver for Miami of Ohio, Jack Sorensen's had a catch here and there, maybe as an undrafted free agent type that could stick in a camp.
Yeah, not much to see for the Mean Green.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night, and what a sellout of Raymond James Stadium for the Gasparilla Bowl gets the sellout crowd. Florida and UCF, a game that fans of UCF have wanted to see played for years. They finally get their shot here in Tampa. I honest to God have no idea how many of these Florida prospects are even playing in this game. We still have Jacob Copeland on our watch list. He's in the transfer portal. Damian Pierce, the running back, going to the Senior Bowl. They have a couple other guys going to the Senior Bowl. I have no idea if they're playing this game or not. Probably not. We had to venture a guess. Emory Jones is playing in this game, the quarterback for Florida. This is his last game at Florida, as he has announced he gave advance warning of his entrance into the transfer portal.
It's wild.
Going after this game. UCF, and I shared this to you in our Slack chat the other day. This is just fun to me. Big Cat Bryant, the transfer from Auburn, is currently committed to 3 All-Star games: the Hula Bowl, the NFLPA Bowl, and the Shrine Bowl. I don't know if he's going to play in all 3. I doubt it. My feeling is probably not, but he could. They're all separated enough date-wise. I think he could pull it off. Maybe, I don't know. But I doubt it. Anyway, Big Cat Bryant, he's not a bad prospect. I'll give him that. But that was a fun story from this week.
No, like I want to see him playing all 3. Let's do it. Let's have him go out, just travel. Like that would be a story, right? NFL teams would be like, yeah, this guy.
We're sick of looking at this guy.
Yeah, let's get in there. So I don't know. Emory Jones is going to transfer, which is interesting. I think Damian Pierce is playing. The running back is going to the Senior Bowl. I could be wrong. I feel like I could be wrong at anyone I say in any of these bowl games at this point. But I'm excited to see him play in this one. Some of the Jacob Copeland for Florida transfers. So it's kind of a mess to know who's in this. But UCF could beat them for the first time ever. They kind of get their shots, and this might be one of their best shots, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. I think it's just going to be, like I said, just from pure. There's going to be a lot of players that played against each other in high school in these games, so it might get chippy out there. So could be fun to watch. Hawaii and Memphis playing in the Hawaii Bowl Christmas Eve, 7 p.m. This will be my game. I had not watched Memphis this year. Does not look like I'll be seeing Senior Bowl commitment Calvin Austin III. I believe he has opted out of that game. So I don't know if Dylan Parham, who's also going to be at the Senior Bowl, has or not. Parham plays tackle for Memphis. We have him listed as a guard. I've been told he's going to play center at the Senior Bowl. So of which they currently have no centers committed to that game. No players that have listed as a center anyway. So we've been over Hawaii numerous times on this podcast. Calvin Turner Jr., the best prospect on that team, I believe, is committed to the Shrine, but it may be the NFLP. I can't remember. It's one or the other for that. But Memphis and Hawaii Christmas Eve.
Yeah, it's exactly like Dylan Parham. It's exciting for him. I think him and Jamari Salyer from Georgia are probably the two guys that can play all 5 positions on the offensive line, which is valuable nowadays. So I hope he's playing in this game. I think it'd be fun.
We mentioned this off air, and we're just going to throw this out there. There is a junior center who we were told has graduated. Maybe we're waiting to see if he declares. Maybe he gets the invite. I mean, it's not like he wouldn't get the invite if he was eligible. So Tyler Linderbaugh from Iowa
has graduated. Yeah.
If not, it's going to be fun that first day of practice, and those will be in my practice notes both days. Who actually lined up at center for each team? Because right now we don't know. Christmas Day, I'll be watching this one, the Camellia Bowl between Ball State and Georgia State from the historic Crampton Bowl in Montgomery, Alabama. Their words, not mine. Couple of solid players for Ball State. Drew Plitt, their quarterback, is a decent prospect. Johannes Taylor is a big slot receiver. At least I think that's his best fit in the NFL is going to be there. I thought Bryce Cosby, their safety, was decent enough to be a priority free agent. Anthony Ekpe, the same. Their edge rusher, a bit undersized, but could have some sub-package abilities at the next level. For Georgia State, their best prospect, probably Shamarius Gilmore, their guard, but not a whole lot there, to be honest.
Yeah. But I think we'll see some players, especially from Ball State, end up in camps, that kind of thing, maybe not drafted. So I think these are two pretty evenly matched teams, though, so it should be a fun game to watch at the very least.
I agree. Monday, the 27th, the Quick Lane Bowl. This game got a lot less fun for you, Shane. 10 a.m. There will be no Carson Strong. There will be no Romeo Dubs. There will be no Cole Turner. I don't know if there will be Aaron Frost. He is committed to the NFLPA game as of this week. There is no Elijah Cooks as he's in the transfer portal. So I really don't know what to tell you here, Shane. From a Nevada perspective, what is there really to watch? Hope you put confidence points on Western Michigan.
I think that's kind of the case. I mean, Western Michigan, I think you have some guys like Caleb Eleby, their quarterback, is pretty good, and he's had a really good college career as well. Like I was hoping these two teams could put up some points, and I think Nevada's backup quarterback all transferred to follow their coach. So I don't even know. To be honest, I don't even know.
That's the other thing. Nevada also doesn't have its coach.
So I don't even know who's playing in this game for Nevada. So it'll be fun to see what happens.
This game will be played in front of a mostly empty Ford Field. Yeah,
it'd be good.
Ali Fayyad, the edge rusher for Western Michigan, one to watch. I think he's going to the Shrine game. Military Bowl also on Monday on ESPN at 1:30. Shane, this one actually got a little more fun for you because we've had some opt-ins from Boston College. Phil Jerkovic, the quarterback, going back next year, convinced his receiver, who, as of yesterday, was my wide receiver 15 in this class. I had a top 100 grade on Zay Flowers. So he's going back. So I anticipate that Tyler Vrabel will go back to school as well. They're starting left tackle. They will be losing their guard center combination, Zion Johnson, who will be at the Senior Bowl, Alec Lindstrom, who will be at the Shrine. I assume they both are playing in this game, but I don't know the answer to that. East Carolina, a couple of solid prospects. C.J. Johnson, their wide receiver, could be a good prospect to watch for 2023. And Jaquan McMillan is a solid corner, undersized, but a good player there.
I actually think it's going to be a really good game. And Boston College, I think a lot of these guys like Cherkovic and Zay Flowers going to be hungry to showcase what they've got. I think both probably want to try to make a leap next year to be a top 50 type pick, which is very possible. So we kind of get to see that first step start now.
This game's interesting. The Birmingham Bowl, Shane, for you, 11 a.m. on 12/28. Auburn and Houston. This is another one where there could be some players that have opted out. I think Marcus Jones is not playing, if I read that correctly. They're do everything guy. Most interesting player not playing for Auburn is Bo Nix, who is now a quarterback for the University of Oregon. Good luck with that, folk in Eugene. Auburn and Houston, of the players that we think are still playing, Shane, who are you? Any matchups here you're looking forward to?
I think it'll be interesting to see maybe the Auburn defensive line. I mean, I like Derek Hall, their pass rusher, who is probably still, is going to stay in school and likely play. I think he'll have a pretty good game. And you've talked about Logan Hall on the other side, the edge rusher for Houston, who's pretty athletic, pretty good player. So I'm hoping we get to see some of those maybe smoke Monday for Auburn, though. I feel like half these Auburn guys have opted out. Jacoby McClain and Berdarius Ham, like the offensive tackle. There's been a ton of Auburn guys just leaving here.
Yeah, it's a weird situation going on there at Auburn. 2:15 that same day, First Responder Bowl, Air Force in Louisville. I took this game because I had not watched Louisville this year, despite the fact that we had 10 players of theirs on our watch list, and I'd somehow just avoided them all season. And one of those players, I saw a tweet a few weeks ago. I can't remember who it was, so I can't give credit, but said maybe the Malik at quarterback we need to be talking about is not Malik Willis, but it's Malik Cunningham from Louisville. I've seen him in passing. I think he's a really good player. So I am anxious to get. I don't think he's going to enter this draft.
He's going back. He already announced.
Oh, he's already said he's going back. Okay, good. So they do have a corner. Well, I'm not going to. It's useless in this game, I guess. But Quinterio Cole, a FAMU transfer. He's not going to see any action in this game. So that was a waste of time. But Malik Cunningham, I guess, the player to watch. And another interesting player that our in a group text we had, our good buddy Pigskin Paul, big fan of Jordan Jackson, the interior defensive lineman from Air Force. So he said he's a big fan of his game. So I guess we'll get a chance to see him as well. And this one, potential day 3 draft pick there.
Yeah, Malik Cunningham, definitely an analytics darling. If you look at the advanced statistics on quarterbacks, his rushing and passing ability and production is off the charts, literally. Like, it's so good. So he could end up being really interesting next year. It feels like he's been there forever. And one Louisville player who hasn't gotten much play this year, but I think next year is a name that we'll hear a lot of, is Jalen Harrell, the wide receiver, 4.2 speed, which, they've had a guy drafted in the top 100 with that kind of speed in Tutu Atwell last year. So I think Harrell hasn't hit his stride, but maybe in this game, maybe we see him break out a little bit.
Well, the difference between this guy and Tutu Atwell is this guy won't get blowed down in the wind, where Tutu Atwell was 150 pounds. So maybe I'll get a good look at him tomorrow or on the 28th as well. Liberty Bowl in Memphis, Mississippi State and Texas Tech. I chose this game for the sheer fact, as this is the Mike Leach revenge game. Texas Tech, he says, owes him money. He has sued Texas Tech for it. Texas Tech says, we owe you nothing. You will get nothing and like it, sir. Anxious to see if they get a chance to run the score up in this game. If they even can, I don't know. But I am assuming Charles Cross is out.
Yeah, he opted out.
Yeah. Martin Emerson as well, the corner that I know you're a big fan of, declared for the draft, also probably out. But
yeah, he's out.
So, just But that's the main reason I wanted to watch this game. I mean, I also need to see some more of Texas Tech, and their center Dawson Deaton is a potential day 3 prospect. So, but yes, that was the main reason I wanted to watch this game, was the Mike Leach revenge game. Put all my confidence points, by the way, 43 confidence points on Mississippi State to win this.
Their quarterback not eligible this year, but Will Rogers has done well. I think he's a prospect worth keeping an eye on. And Eric Ezukanma, the receiver for Texas Tech, I don't know if he'll declare. I kind of hope he doesn't. But like he was super productive early in the year. And Zach Kitley, the offensive coordinator for Western Kentucky, it has already moved up. So I don't know how much of his offense we'll get to see in this bowl game, but we might get, that passing game might be Bailey Zappi-esque over here. So we'll see what happens.
What you're basically saying is, I have committed myself to an 8-hour football game, of which there will be a combined 120 passes attempted, probably less than. Basically, the exact opposite of what's going on in this Missouri Army game that's on TV right now. As far as total amount of prospects in a bowl game, definitely this one is definitely of week 2 of the bowl games has the most prospects. The Holiday Bowl, 7 p.m. on Fox. You'll be watching NC State and UCLA. Of course, it all depends on how many of these players are playing. I haven't really seen any opt-outs from this game yet that I know of. But we've talked about Ika Mekwanu.
He's playing. He's
Ricky Person declared for the draft. I don't know if he's playing or not. Emeka Amizi, receiver, going to the Shrine. I think he's a day 3 draft pick at wide receiver, big body guy. UCLA has some good, solid players in the secondary. Quatrez Knight, Jay Shaw, Stephen Blaylock, Quentin Lake. I think all are potential draftable, maybe not early draftable, but potential draftable roster guys. Zach Charbonnet, one of the better running back, probably maybe a top 10 running back prospect in this class. I think we agree there. And a quarterback that I think is going to get drafted higher than the consensus is UCLA's Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Yeah, look, everyone's playing in this game. Ike Mekwanu kind of led the charge that if they felt like if they were opted out, they were quitting. Even Ricky Person, he's playing. So that's kind of the exciting part. I think UCLA seems like everyone's playing as well. So these two teams are going to be a full strength going at it. I agree with you on DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I think he has a shot to be a late round draft pick for the upside for sure. And, I like safety Quentin Lake there that you mentioned. And we'll see. This NC State run game has been really good. Zonovan Knight, we haven't heard from him if he'll declare the running back for NC State. Him and Ricky Person have been kind of a 2-person matchup there that's been tough for defenses to stop. But I like Knight's game a lot too. So I'm excited. This is probably the game I'm most excited for this week.
I'm going to make a prediction right now on this podcast. If Sam Howell doesn't accept his invitation to the Senior Bowl, that is waiting on him for the moment he declares. If Sam Howell for some reason thinks he's better than that, he's not. But if he does, Dorian Thompson-Robinson will get the call. And I predict here that Dorian Thompson-Robinson basically has the Kellen Mond rise into the late half of round 3 of the draft. If he gets to the Senior Bowl,
that's bold.
Big if.
That's
big
bold.
If.
He was on my list. My second prediction, I popped him in there when we thought they might bring 8 guys. But
that looks like that's not happening now.
Yeah. Nope.
So. Last game of the week is the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, formerly the Cheez-It Bowl. This game, I believe, is played at Chase Field, where the Diamondbacks baseball team plays. What is Guaranteed Rate? I don't even know what that is. I assume it's some sort of home loan deal or something.
Anyway, mortgages. Yep,
probably. Minnesota and West Virginia in this one. Is Daniel Falele playing in this one?
Oh, that's a good question. I saw the declaration. So it looks like he. I don't know. I haven't seen yet.
Maybe not. Yeah. they have a couple of edge rushers committed to the Senior Bowl. We know about Boye Mafe. We don't know much about Azizi Otomiwo. Excuse me. Who is committed to the Senior Bowl. So I want to get my eyes on him for sure before I see him in person. Tanner Morgan and Mohamed Ibrahim both saying they're going back to school. One of those is good for Minnesota. One of those maybe not. I don't know about Chris Altman-Bell if he's going back or not. West Virginia,
Yes, yeah.
Letty Brown, solid player there for them. Doug Nestor, solid interior player. We haven't seen if he's going to enter the draft or not. Dante Stills, I don't know if he'll be drafted or not, but I think he is a solid interior defensive lineman for the Mountaineers.
Yeah, it looks like, looking it up, it looks like Daniel Falele is opting out. Blaze Andrews just declared. I don't know if he will be playing in the game, but Chris Hotman-Bell's coming back. He's been hurt most of the year. So, Minnesota's actually bringing back a pretty good core next season. And I think most of the guys still are going to play in this game. So, I'd be excited for that. John Michael Schmitz, their center, I think is a little bit underrated. He's coming back to school as well. And then, West Virginia. I'd like Letty Brown more than I guess the Senior Bowl did. I thought he could have gotten a spot there. And I still like Doug Nestor, their guard. I don't know if he'll declare, but he's had a good season this year too. So, I don't know if he's playing in this game or what's going to happen, but I'm excited to see if he does. It'd be a good matchup.
Absolutely. So that's going to do it for that particular set of games for this week. Shane, we've talked about quarterbacks a lot already. We're going to talk about them a little bit more here. You put up a poll a couple of days ago asking which of these quarterbacks is most likely to be selected in the top 15. Your list is without Matt Corral, because we just assumed that he will be the top quarterback selected. But your choices were Sam Howell, Desmond Ridder, Carson Strong, and Malik Willis. Overwhelming results here. 232 people voted. Malik Willis, 48.7% of the votes to be selected in the top 15 of the draft. Sam Howell from North Carolina, who we just spoke about a few minutes ago, 25.4% of the vote. Desmond Ridder, 19% of the vote. And Carson Strong, who we talked about earlier, 6.9%. So anything that surprised you on that poll, Shane?
I was a little surprised it was so kind of lopsided. I didn't have Corral or Pickett in there because I figured they would probably just take it. So I wanted to get and I think it was a good pulse to see where people are. The
QB3 is.
Yeah. People that kind of follow Draft Countdown do still like Malik Willis a ton. I was surprised Carson Strong did as poor as he did. I thought he beat Desmond Ridder in that poll at the very least. But people buying into that upside, and after that bowl game too, I think timing wise was good for Malik Willis. They're probably not wrong. If there's one of those guys that's going to go that high, it's probably going to be the upside.
Going to be the upside.
Yeah.
All right, Shane. Earlier this week, last Friday, as a matter of fact, I ran a post on Draft Countdown, basically trying to handicap who will be the coaching staff for the 2022 Senior Bowl. For those of you who don't know how this works, essentially whatever the draft order ends up being after the regular season is over, the worst teams are given the option to coach the Senior Bowl with the caveat that they have to have a full coaching staff. Well, Shane, currently right now in the pole position is the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're eliminated because they fired head coach Urban Meyer, current interim head coach Darren Bevel. Obviously, he's not going to be retained. So Jacksonville's out. So that leaves us right now, currently the top two candidates to coach will be the Detroit Lions staff and Dan Campbell, who I feel like we agree not going anywhere.
Yeah. And
the Houston Texans are in third at 3-11, and they have, but rumors out there this week that David Culley, basically who got brought in to do the impossible, is going to be let go at season's end, which would then eliminate the Texans and would bring in the New York Jets, who are also currently at the same record as Houston at 3-11, and Robert Saleh, who I think we both agree will be back. So, I mean, it looks like as of right now, the coaching staffs will be probably Detroit and the Jets.
And, I think some of these teams are going to get some wins. Like we definitely have some, teams playing each other and some, some different things happening. But I think the next couple on there, like Chicago, I think, Matt Nagy's gone. The Giants, I think Joe Judge is gone. Right. So it almost feels like it has to be these 4 teams. If we get 2, I think it's most likely to be Matt Campbell and to be Robert Saleh. Maybe I still think David Culley could buy himself another year, with a win here or there. They move up maybe to the 4th position, 5th position in the draft. I think he still has a shot at that. But yeah, I mean, Matt Campbell's going to be fun. Like I'm going to envy you being in the press conference with him, because I think that's just going to be a blast to see him speak. But the other one, it's gonna be interesting. But those have to be the 2 favorites, right? There's no way. No way.
A year ago, it got interesting because we had a lot of turnover on coaching staffs. So it got down to Matt Rule in Carolina were the first selection. I think they ended up picking 8th. Ooh. So it got all the way down to them. The Bengals passed. They were offered, and it would have been back-to-back years. Zach Taylor passed on the opportunity. But a lot of teams, because of COVID and everything, it's, I guess, running wild again. But at that time, there was no vaccine. So a lot of teams did not want to send their full staffs of scouts, coaches down here. So a lot of teams started passing to the point that the Dolphins, who were 1 game away from making the playoffs last year, sent their coaching staff down here to coach. It got all the way down to them. Could we see a scenario where that happens this year? I don't know. With the vaccine being obviously readily available at your local drugstore at this point to get now, we may not see that. But it would be kind of interesting if, say, it got down to like a Seattle, who's currently slated to pick 8th, and Pete Carroll's staff come down here, because they haven't been in this position very often. Arthur Smith, in his first year as head coach of the Falcons, could bring them down here. So I think it would be interesting if teams start passing off on it, if it gets down to that scenario again.
And I'll say too, I think what if we have a surprise firing of Culley and maybe Saleh or something, usually those first year coaches are safe, but maybe not. It could be Matt Rule again. I'm not sure Carolina wins another game this year, to be honest with you. And
he could get run out. So
I guess that's true if that happens. But that contract, I guess after Meyer's contract, anything can happen. So
if you're when you're a hedge fund manager like their owner, what is how that money means nothing to those guys. So it's going to be interesting to see. We should know maybe a week or so after the maybe 2 weeks or maybe a week after the regular season ends. We should start hearing rumblings of how that's going to be. All right, Shane, it's Christmas coming up here in a few days, 3 days away from Christmas. Santa Claus is going to be visiting everybody's house. Those who naughty, those who've been nice. I think we here at Draft Countdown have been pretty nice.
Hopefully,
this year, So we should get some stuff in our stocking this year, Shane. So Shane, what is the number one thing that you're hoping that Santa Claus leaves in your stocking?
Look, so my favorite stocking stuffer, maybe not expected, but I actually love candles. I don't know if you can see behind me. I always have one going behind me during podcasts. Like I'm a very scent oriented person. And so, I know that maybe that's odd or atypical culturally for the NFL draft football fan to be into candles. But I am. Like, give me a nice citrus.
Shane,
scented
we spent 20 minutes on a podcast talking about Disney rides a few weeks
That's
ago.
true.
We're not the atypical NFL draft podcast here.
That's true. Look, but give me a good candle. I always like citrus scents. You know, I'm a teacher by trade during the day. I always have a wax warmer going. I have the best smelling classroom in the school. You know, that's to me that sets a mood, sets a tone, and it definitely helps me. So give me a nice candle in the stocking. It'll get use. It'll be great.
Myself, I am what you call a carnivore, Shane. I have at this point not seen many of the dead animals that I do not like to eat. So my favorite stocking stuffer to get every year is just the largest bag of beef jerky that Santa Claus can possibly fit in my stocking. I love to get some beef jerky, and also a big fan of the Almond Joys if he wants to throw a couple of those down in there too. But big fan of the beef jerky.
Like good beef jerky is tough to beat. I'll say that. I'm not like a big beef jerky guy, but if it's good, like it is good.
You're not wrong. Not wrong at all. There's a Costco has a one of their that they distribute. It's the company's based out of San Francisco. I'm assuming that anyway, based off the trolley cars and the Golden Gate Bridge logo on the packaging anyway. But was some of the best beef jerky, juiciest beef jerky I've ever had from Costco. Shane, we actually have questions this week. We have one in chat and one on Twitter. We'll get to both. We'll start with the one in chat. And G10 says, hi, guys. Cowboys fans hoping for an offensive lineman. My favorites are Zion Johnson, Trevor Penning, and Bernard Ryman. Are they available? Who you taking? Thanks, Ireland. We worldwide, Shane.
No, look. Thanks, G10. Thanks for listening, man. That's awesome. For me, it's pretty clear. Like, I think Trevor Penning has the most upside of that group. I think the Cowboys probably are a little bit too good to get him, but the offensive tackles aren't set yet. It depends on how he does the Senior Bowl. Could be available for them. I just think the size and the strength and the athletic ability is pretty much tops this class other than Evan Neal to get a guy that's like, that's that big that can move the way that Penning does. So he's probably my favorite of the group that was mentioned. But I think like Bernard Raymond from Central Michigan, the offensive tackle, he could be a really good fit for the Cowboys if they do go that direction in terms of, where he's probably going to go in the NFL draft is later in that first round. That's probably where the Cowboys are going to be picking. So I think that actually could maybe be the best fit of the three. Zion Johnson, I like, but seems maybe to be a little bit lower on the list, probably in day two than in that first round.
I think if where they're picking now, which is per Tankathon, they're picking 30th because they would be considered the NFC runner-up at this point. I think Ryman would may be available at that point. I guess it depends on how the board falls with other things. Zion Johnson, I don't know that he goes in the first round. I'm not ruling it out. He could come down here to the Senior Bowl and just start mauling folk in the one-on-ones and raise his stock up to that point. I think if the Cowboys have traded out of the first round before, maybe they trade out of the first round for somebody who wants to come up and get that fifth-year option on somebody like Carson Strong or one of the other quarterbacks that follow. They move into that 40 to 42 range, and they could target Zion Johnson there, pick up a couple of picks, move back in that type of scenario. But I do like Zion Johnson. I think he would be a day one starter in the NFL. But big fan there. Shane on Twitter at Fishy Football asks, what position group is way weaker or way stronger this year than last year? Way weaker or stronger than last year?
It's such an interesting question because I think it depends how you slice it, right? Like I could say quarterback is a lot weaker just because we had such high-end quarterbacks last year. But for the class as a whole, I don't think I would say that. and for most of these classes as a whole. So I'm going to say the way weaker for me is center. I think the Senior Bowl has shown us how weak center is outside of Tyler Linderbaum, right? Like after that, there might not be one drafted day 2, and that's kind of sad. So I'll say that's way weaker. I think much better is, as we've mentioned a couple times in the show, the best position possibly top to bottom in this draft, and that's edge rusher. I think is you have a lot of more high-end guys, Thibodeau, Aiden Hutchinson, George Karlaftis. I think you have a number of first-round picks. I think day 2 is going to be packed with edge rushers. So I think top and depth is probably better this year than last year.
I think another class, I don't know how strong the safety class was last year, but I know how not strong the safety class is this year. So that would be another group that if you don't get Kyle Hamilton or maybe someone like Jordan Battle and maybe one other in the second or third round, might be tough sledding for a guy that if you're wanting to get a starter out of that position, you better draft one of those top 3 because it gets a bit hazy after that.
Yeah, that's a good call. That is.
Late question in the chat here from Guy. Guy says, where do you have Jamari Salyer? I mean, for me, it's going to definitely how does he play at the Senior Bowl because he's coming down here. Does he line up at center? Because, like I said, we talked earlier, they're going to have some guys play center because they can't just have Dylan Parham snap for both teams.
Yeah, I think I have him right now. See, I think I have him at guard, right? Like, it's like, where do I have him? I think I have him as the 5th best guard in the draft, which would put him day 2, late 2nd into the maybe early 3rd round. I think first round's probably out of reach. I wouldn't say definitely, but probably out of reach for him, just with how he's played this year. Has not been super consistent. But I think high end top 50, early 2nd round. And I think low end, I do think he, I think he should be a day 2 pick, maybe late 3rd round.
I currently have Salyer as my number 6 guard, but you're going to see some what they call the cluster busting there at the Senior Bowl because my 3 through 6 guards, actually 3 through 7, all currently slated to play at the Senior Bowl. Zion Johnson, Boston College, Ed Ingram, LSU, Lucita Smith, Virginia Tech, Salyer, and Cole Strange from Chattanooga. All those guys at the Senior Bowl. So that could be the big positional separator for me there as far as that goes. Thanks everybody for those questions tonight. We always love getting those. We like to answer those questions every week. Shane, I think it's pretty simple. Our final thoughts this week. We've had content daily since the relaunch of Draft Countdown. That will not be the case for the next 4 days. We're shutting her down for Christmas. We think everybody should take a break for this date. So, happy holidays, Merry Christmas from myself and my family at Deep Fried Draft here and Draft Countdown. Shane, to everybody out there over this holiday weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a good holiday weekend. Stay safe out there. But we'll be back Monday I'll have a 2023 mock draft and then next week, couple articles giving some gifts to some of these teams too for the holiday season. So we'll be back. We'll be having fun and I'll just have a great weekend. And I hope everyone out there has a happy and safe time.
Absolutely, everybody. I'm Brian Bosarge. Follow me on Twitter at Deep Fried Draft. He's Shane P. Hallam. Follow him on Twitter at Shane P. Hallam. Follow the Draft Countdown account at Draft Countdown. Go to draftcount.com for everything. Follow us on YouTube here. Subscribe to the channel. Get notified when we go live every Wednesday with this podcast. Again, Merry Christmas, everybody. Have a safe holiday, and we'll see you back here next week. Good night, everybody.